Hello YouTube, welcome back to another Star Citizen News episode. I'm CTT, you know me.
And I'm Infantry Lead the Way.
Guys, we've got a bit of a mixed bag this week between calling all devs as well as dropship delights, both from CIG. Guys, just the content this week isn't the highest quality because, well, that's what CIG's put out and we're only able to work with what we're able to. Anyway, welcome to the episode.
In the Star Citizen community, some of the videos released by CIG are especially heinous. In the CTT newsroom, two dedicated YouTubers cover these vicious felonies. They are members of an elite YouTube channel called CTT. These are their stories.
Alrighty.
The journey to bring mining to Star Citizen has been an eventful one, starting first with a single laser on the Prospector extracting minerals on the surface of Stanton's moons, then expanding to asteroids, handheld FPS options, aftermarket laser heads, cave systems, and more. Now, after developing this feature both in front of and with feedback from our community, the final touches to finish up this gameplay loop are almost here with the upcoming Alpha 3.9 with the addition of mining consumables, little sub-items that go inside the lasers that will provide players both improved functionality and more comprehensive control over their ship mining experience.
We started mining quite a while ago, now that I think about it. We first delivered it in 3.2, which means we started working on it during 3.1. So it's about a year and a half now. It's been quite a journey. The team kind of started with 2 people. At the end of 3.2, we were like 17 people from different departments. There were people from VFX, audio, UI. Everyone was helping getting this out the door. With mining, we really set out to do what probably is the first full gameplay loop that we have in Star Citizen. The core of the gameplay is there. We are now in a state where I think you guys are fairly happy with the gameplay, minus a few bugs, which we will fix. With the new mining consumables for 3.9, we are trying to expand on what we did with the mining lasers for 3.8 and kind of offer the same option, but in more of an active role. This was not in our original design for mining. This is something that just came up the more we saw people play, the more we play the game ourselves. Where the mining lasers are something you have to equip before and that's it, you're stuck with that mining laser. A mining consumable is something that you equip, it's a sub-item of the laser. So in 3.9, players will be able to buy mining consumables pretty much at any store that sells mining lasers. For example, Dumpers Depot is a very good example. They need to make sure they have a laser that has open slots for it. Certain lasers have none. Once equipped, the laser on the Prospector or on the mall will actually give you feedback that a consumable has been activated. Each consumable looks different, so you'll notice as soon as you punch one in, the beam will change. There'll be different sounds, different effects on the rock. It'll tell you that the consumable is active, so you can lower the instability, you can lower resistances. Certain consumables will give you some bonus, but also remove some other thing from you, make it harder some other ways. And while you're playing, based on the rocks you encounter, the challenges offered by that rock or the environment, you can use one of those consumables or more of those consumables at the same time to change the parameters of the mining operation. So with the Argo Mole, since that is a cooperative type of gameplay ship, we are giving each seat control over its own consumables. Each mining laser can equip consumable based on what's equipped there. If it's a Helix, you will have 3 consumable slots. So in total, 9 consumable slots for the Argo Mole. So that leaves room for a lot of combinations where players can prepare ahead and go, hey, you equip that, you equip that, you equip that. And then it'll just amplify when it's basically more than the sum of its parts, what you're going to get if you play this right.
Alright guys, so yeah, that's mining for you at the moment, consumables as well as obviously other ships that you'll be able to do mining with in future. Guys, please pop off in the comments on your thoughts of how mining's actually evolving, what's happening. For me, it's not really a point of contention, it's not one of my interests, but it is ILW, so I'll pass you on to him.
Well, so I really look forward to the consumables. It's really going to actually step things up to the next level if we can actually get rocks to use these consumables on, because, you know, as most players know, if you upgrade to the Helix laser, which is the best laser, you can almost bust every single rock in the game with no problem. So there's really no need for the consumables. And there was talking the other things about bringing the rock masses up, more instability, more bigger rocks, bigger clusters to make use of these consumables. Hopefully with the consumables of 3.9 comes bigger asteroid fields, bigger asteroids, and bigger things to do, because right now the consumables aren't worth it unless you're just using them on the default laser, really.
Yep, cool. All right, so let's move on to the next part of the video. Alrighty, guys, so this is the next part of the video. This was the Calling All Devs Squadron 42 episode. I got really excited and hyped for it. But in a nutshell, guys, look, there is so much fluff. Brian just went around in circles, wouldn't answer a single question. Then you had Tyler and Brian, the same thing again. The first dev that came along, it's just more crap talk, shop talk, not answering any questions. Second dev, same thing again. We got a bit of talk from the second dev about the prison system. Why we have the prison system in the PU at the moment is because it is actually directly reliant on Squadron 42. That's why we're getting anything in the PU, guys. Some good news, though. We are looking at getting in the new Tavarian ship. We are looking at Jian and Banu ships coming in as well. Hopefully the merchantmen, fingers crossed. But that's still, I'd say probably the start of next year. We'll see those things actually become materialised in the PU. Squadron 42, though, they're going to look about doing a new show every week with Brian, trying to have catch-ups with him, but look, honestly, I think that show is going to flop. Even the devs put it on him and he didn't realise he's actually doing that show at any stage. So it goes to show there is a serious issue with communication at CIG. But then we got to the third dev who, spoke some stuff and about some stuff and no one really cared. It was very, very boring fluff talk. Then we got to the final dev in the Foundry 42 office, or known as the Foundry 42 office until now, which is CIG UK. And I just want you guys to have a listen into this part, this whole part where he's talking, and listen for what goes on in the background. Pretty damn unprofessional. And also Jared makes an admission, which we'll get to in a minute.
All right, so now, last but certainly not least, on our extra long, extra length, supersized, calling all devs, all about Squadron 42. We can't talk Squadron 42 without calling up my good friend, or at least I think his friend, we're going to find out. Nate Dearsley, Squadron 42 art director. Nate, how you doing?
That was amazing. You got to keep that in.
Yeah, how you doing, man?
Apart from trying to have a cup of tea, I'm good.
Yep. What you didn't see is he was literally about to... Yeah, okay. So, we're leaving it in. It's raw. It's real. Nate, how you doing? You're the art director for Squadron 42. How you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a long road putting this show together, but we're here at the end now. I want to ask you a couple questions. The last big update we had about Squadron 42 was that visual update that we put out in December, on or about Christmas. What's the story behind that? Because I know that didn't come around as a marketing thing we wanted to put out to the community. How did that come about?
I wanted to do something that sort of, push the envelope a little bit more as a closeout for the year, so everyone can go home from the Christmas holidays and be motivated about kind of coming back in the new year. It's been a tough one, and so I went through the year of data, the year of visuals, collated all that information, and pretty much kind of cut it all together into like one edited video to show to the entire company, internally only at that point. I think the original video was just over 10 minutes long. There was an awful lot of content. Yeah. Like it had characters in it, it had lots more cinematics and everything. And then, of course, it's funny because I showed it and everyone was quite silent in the meeting. I was like, oh, there we are then. And then I get the email from Chris. Hey man, like this was really cool. We should totally do something with this. We should show our back as it. And then, long story short, we just basically went through all of that footage, removed anything that was too spoilery, because obviously, with it being a narrative-driven game, it's very hard to show content to the outside world without spoiling certain characters, without spoiling certain story moments. And
that's been a theme of this episode so far, is the spoiler
Right. Yeah, I mean everything's quite sensitive. Like there's not really much that goes on in the story that would give stuff away, if that makes sense. So for example, if we just showed you one character, you just go, okay, I get it. Like I know who he is in the script, and I'll just ruin it for you. So yeah, want to avoid that. So yeah, and that's how we kind of ended up with that basically like show and tell. Like it's certainly not finished, it's not polished. I'd say visual quality wise we're probably about 40% in that video. There's still a lot to do visually, but yeah.
I was going to stop there real quick. This is something that will come back in a moment. 40%. What he's actually referring to is not just the visuals. He actually dropped a little bit of an Easter egg there for everybody that was very hard to pick up on now, but later in the video he does refer back to it. Squadron 42's development is only 40% done, guys. 40% done. And how many years? 6 years?
I want to say something real quick.
Yep.
That's not my mic. That's not mine and his. That's the video. Instead of reshooting it, that's what they rolled with. They could have said, "Hey, we're gonna do this type call again. Tell that guy to shut up. Let's do it again." They didn't do that. Let's just keep it. It's good as is. Just keep it.
Right.
No, go ahead.
Gets worse.
Yeah, I think it's coming together, and it's really nice actually seeing the video where it shows how, I guess, sort of like diverse the locations are. Like the game's not going to suffer with visual fatigue in the slightest. It's one of the key things I wanted to avoid. So yeah.
Cool. Now we showed that then. How have things progressed since? I know it's only been by the time this airs, it's only been about 2 months, maybe 3 months since the visual update went out. How are things progressing visually for Squadron 42 in general?
So visually, it's pretty much we're on a curve up. Game devs kind of, if I just draw a curve, it's kind of like this for a long time, and at the end of the process, it goes straight up to the top. So it's not a linear curve, but I think we're just approaching that kind of crest now. But yeah, we've sort of come in the new year. It's always nice to kind of get that break and then just really sort of resurvey like how the team's operating and how the teams are split up and what are they focusing on. We have our internal reviews as well, so it's a good time for us all to sort of speak about the project, get a lot of stuff out in the open, and just really kind of work on that feedback as a team. But as for the game as a whole, like it's genuinely like really beginning to come together now. Like we had Chris here week before last.
Just to show you guys a bit of psychology and the stuff that I've learnt myself and I've studied about because I've spent $5,000 on a course learning this stuff, guys. If you're looking down to the right, you're remembering. If you're looking up to the right, you're thinking. If you're looking consistently to the left, down or up, you're lying. That's just 101 psychology about human dynamics, right? You can read it up yourself. The guy is making crap up, especially about Chris as well, obviously.
And it was really refreshing to be able to sit down in what was a 6-hour review at the end of it. The game, okay, it crashed once. That's sort of unheard of at this point in dev. And pretty much, everything was beginning to work. One of the most technical aspects of the game was running, and people were doing their things, NPCs were doing their things, you could speak to people, have conversations with people. You were in the Idris floating around this system and looking outside at the epic view. And when you see these little nuggets kind of coming in, it's really sort of helpful and really motivational. So yeah, visually it's just sort of like, continuing to grow on that momentum now. Obviously we've got planet-side locations in development, we've got stations in development, other ships from other races we're trying to go into.
Right, so the parts of truth he is telling are the parts where he looks at the camera, and we know the Tavarian ship's already in development.
All sorts, a bit of everything, and part of that kind of like the review process is also always trying to find, it's really trying to make the most of people's passion. So I'd never want someone on the team to be working on something that they don't want to work on, if that makes sense. You're not going to get much out of them. So yeah, that's generally what's been happening. And of course, dare I say it, there's a lot of cool stuff being put together for a certain show at the end of the year. So yeah.
I don't think we can say that.
Why? Why can't you say that?
We'll see if that stays in the edit or not. All right. So,
start again. Start again.
Nope. We won't start. No, we're gonna keep going. All right. So, we're off the rails now. All right. Since you're in the mood to share, Nate. Jeez. Since you're in the mood to share, Nate, I know from working with you as long as I have that you've always got something up on your screen. You're doing some review. You're doing some. What's on your screen right now? Can you share it with us?
What I've normally got on my screen is I'm hunting for faults. I'm jumping in and finding things that we can improve on or anything like that. But no, I'm an individual who likes to lead by example, so I try and stay completely in touch with the game dev cycle and be completely hands on with it, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I've got one of our stations in front of us that I'm going through. It's not 100% finished yet. There's like 2 areas which I can actually show you. You can see what this sort of looks like mid-dev.
We're not usually a visual show. We're usually a talking head show, but let's end on a high note here. What can you show us?
Okay.
And I haven't seen this. This is as true and honest as can. I don't know what we're about to see here.
No, I'm just in here balancing the lighting at the moment. So yes, that's the Ado station. You'd have seen this briefly in the trailer, certain areas of it at least. I'll just sort of pull you out and just sort of go through some of the setup of this stuff. So it's one of our comms arrays, set up by RC Ado. You have to excuse some of my shadow issues. We've got static shadow region issues at the moment, and obviously you'll notice this is in completely black space because this is an object container setup, and these object containers get stuck into the larger system later. We don't sort of alter them where they are. But without further ado, just sort of like let's jump in and I can show you the setup of how this thing lives and breathes. It is very much similar to what we would do on a ship. It has its own power systems, it has its own comms, it has everything that it needs to function correctly. So on entering this space, it's not, you'll probably notice it's not a sterile station. There is obviously kind of story elements that are going on here. And the main story element for this station in particular is that it's sort of like in the process of being decommissioned and ultimately recycled. So this is the comms center room. You'll notice dark side is generally the bit that's being decommissioned. Everything's starting to get covered in cellophane and cloth and whatnot. But if you come through the other side, you'll see that this side is still operational and is functioning as you'd expect it. So yeah, I'm sorry if I've made people dizzy because I'm one of these people that just looks around at everything as I'm going around.
Nate, thank you so much, man. We're going to let you go. This is, of course, just one room of a fully explorable station. It looks terrific, man.
My pleasure.
Guys, remember, Calling All Devs. Calling All Devs will be back in a couple weeks with a second episode. We'll be back to answering your questions as you guys submit them in the thread and vote them up. For Calling All Devs, I want to thank Brian Chambers. I want to thank Tyler Wicken. I want to thank Nick Elms. I want to thank Francesco Riccucci, and of course Nate Dearsley for taking the time for this special extended edition Squadron 42 based version of Calling All Devs. And we'll see you next time.
Okay. This week was a dumpster fire. That last bit was the best bit of the video, and probably the part that highlighted the entire episode. Yeah, and we had to put that between 2 separate videos just now, not just the one. So this wasn't covered in just the Squadron 42 Calling All Devs episode. We had to go to the dropship episode separately because we had to find some content which was entertaining. The rest of the prior of that Calling Devs video was just literally $60,000 flushed down a drain this week. What do you think, ILW?
Man, to be honest with you, we had to watch it again together because the first time I watched it, I couldn't even watch it. I started toning out. I was tuning out to him talking already because it was just so distracting. The person in the background, it's just where you just can't even focus. I really want to give an example. CTT, can you just jump to the 5-minute mark, please? And I'll show you why you're just tuning the whole thing out. And just listen to the 5-minute mark, listen to the question asked, And this is representative of the whole. We're not lying to you. You can go back and watch it. Just go ahead and jump to it, and this is representative of the whole video.
Now you got to answer the big question here from the Star Citizen community. What's the deal with the Squadron 42 roadmap? Why haven't we updated it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go get a drink.
3 hours later. Exactly. No, the roadmap, honestly, though, it's one thing that, I've looked at more and more recently, and other people on the team, and we were scratching our heads too, going, wait, hold on. What's going on here? The roadmap as it currently exists, starting chapters at the top, going to the bottom, and just, spreading out horizontally, it doesn't make sense. There's so many things that we do. A majority of what we do crosses all chapters, right? Mm-hmm. When you talk about mechanics, when you talk about technical work, and so on and so on, when we're working on characters and you're working, whatever it might be across most disciplines, it touches all chapters. So in theory, if you were to leave it as it is, all chapters would basically be done all at the same time, right?
What?
If we left it as is, we would just jump from where it's currently at to 100% complete on everything.
Yeah.
Instead of updating it, 100% complete on it. Did he say something different? Did you hear? What was your take on what he just said?
That basically the game's 6 years behind in development, and that they now, since the Crytek lawsuit settlement has happened, they are fully floodgates open, ready to finish it. Which basically means within 6 months' time, they actually have the first episode of Squadron 42 ready, but they're going to artificially hold it back for Citizencon for an early next year release first quarter. Why? ILW, do you know?
I have no idea. I can't even listen to this guy talk. Just as a favor to me, let it play for another minute. Just one more minute. Let it play.
Little bits that are going to be very specific and very unique. So, due to the nature of the development and what you push on, if we call it AAA or quadruple A or whatever it might be, it really doesn't work for the way. I think when we first started it was just logical. It was like, oh, let's put all the chapters down and we're cool. Right?
Follow a linear progression. It's easy to understand. It's not like we had an example to look at. There aren't other AAA games out there with a publicly facing development roadmap in their development. So
yes, there is, called Dual Universe. Just saying,
we had to kind of figure this out as we went. We tried for a linear presentation, but as you're saying, development runs parallel.
Yeah, and I actually scrubbed through stuff the other day, not the other day, maybe a couple of months ago, looking, okay, what other AAA games are giving the level of detail that we do? And I think some had some roadmaps, but they're just kind of very chunky. It's like, hey, we're a quarter of the way done or halfway done and so on, right?
He's talking about Gantt charts, which means actual progress and completion of actual game elements, not sub-elements like our roadmap we get for Squadron 42 or Star Citizen. Actual how much of those bits of the game itself are completed, which means honesty about where they're at compared to what's happening with us.
A big key thing for us, though, is we don't want to give away spoilers. It's incredibly important to me, and it's incredibly important to Chris.
Just pause it. Just pause it. If you can, just real quick, in post-production, add in just a quick snapshot of the roadmap so they can see, as it currently is, how would updating it add in spoilers? Just say, oh, this is complete. This is not complete. It hasn't been updated in months. In literal months. How would say, oh, chapter 3 is now 100% complete? How would that implement spoilers? How would updating what you already have and you haven't updated in months include spoilers?
Because the game's already complete. They're just going to hold it back until Citizencon this year, as I said, to give it a release date. While they beta test and
spoiler would be it's all 100% complete. That's the spoiler. It's all 100% complete. I don't want to update it because then that would the spoiler of it's all 100% complete. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the only logical reason I could come to. But I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just, I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I am, because the whole reason why Squadron 42 was so held up for so long is the simple fact that the Crytek lawsuit threatened to shut down the entire project for the PU as well. Now, they have settled out of court. I'd say that Crytek is getting a nice chunky royalty from every sale from Squadron 42 in future, and that, you know, there's some other formal agreement that this obviously won't expand past the already set episodes for Squadron 42, and that's it. That's all it is that Crytek has basically told CIG, in a nutshell, that they want only the 5 episodes to be used with CryEngine, that they get a chunky bit of royalty, maybe 49%, 50% of every sale in a royalty fee, and that this agreement is to be stood by and no more changes made ever again. Now, if CIG has bent over and taken the proverbial over this, well, yeah, Chris, that's your fault. And it always was your fault from the start for doing this when you first even brought in the idea of Squadron 42 being a separate game. Should have been part of the same thing, should have been part of Star Citizen, just a single player element like every other game in history that's ever been made. But you know, you're Chris, and you do things differently. And look where it got you. Reason why no other dev does it, because this is where it gets you, Chris. Anyway, one big reference point in this video that I want to bring up before we, if ILW has anything else to say, is that this Calling All Devs video is meant to be live, but at the end, it's in the edit, as I said. So, Jared Hackaby, so I'm calling him a hack now because he's a liar, he's a fraudster, and he has proven that no Calling All Devs episode or any Star Citizen episode other than the real live episodes like Citizencon are actually live. They're all pre-recorded and pre-edited. So what the devs are trying to tell us, I'd say a lot of the time to date, has been cut out. Stuff that they need us to know about so we understand what they're going through. The management side is cutting all that in very important critical information out, which is creating the anger in our community. What do you reckon, ILW? I think that's the case.
I understand that it's edited and it's not live. If you're going to edit the stuff, obviously the stuff put down here is put in post-edit. Obviously, though, why haven't we updated Squadron 42 roadmap? And it all changes dynamically, and it's not being done live because they don't do the live episodes like that. If you're gonna do it just record the freaking, when you got guys talking about that, record it. When you got Skype calls going off in the middle of your speaking, reshoot it. Just reshoot the stuff, man. I mean, I say it every time, $60,000 a week go to producing this for us. Come on.
Right, and did you get 60 grand this week, guys? You got about $10 USD at that. Not Australian. Well, it's about $7. You got 10 USD. So, guys, look, we're really sorry about this week's episode. I know last week's episode, when I was solo while ILW was away on military service, went really well, and I really appreciate all your feedback, guys. And we're so happy that, we've been able to get you a really good episode like that with 3.0. And this is just, as I said in that video, is going to further back up that evidence, and sadly it is. I just wish ILW, you were there for 3.0 because it would have been even funnier. But unfortunately, this is what we're going to be seeing for the few months to come from here in. ILW, have you got anything to wrap up with this at this stage? Because we've really got nothing left in the video to talk about, do we?
No, we have nothing left in the video. Basically, why I wanted to show this in particular, because he didn't say anything. Okay, so we didn't cover anything that he said because he didn't say anything. And that's how I think the video is like 45 minutes. The entire first 40 minutes, except for the last part, which we started with on this video, is all just nonsense. It's all that. Everything he just did, everything he just said, it's all that. And I'm not saying, and I really like CIG's content. I was like, hey, CTT, bring us in with the Star Citizen dropship the first 4 minutes, which they brought us in, because it was so great. I know they could do great content, but it's like BioWare when they created Mass Effect and they said, oh, this is the B team. It's like you got the A team working on something else, and the B team, just put the A team on everything. $60,000, put the A team on everything. Pay one of these YouTubers $60,000 to come create this stuff for
Pay
you.
Pay us. just saying, guys, right? Just send that money our way. No, we're a non-monetized channel, always will be. But the whole thing is, guys, is that I've got a very, very, very serious episode coming up after this one about more holistic discussion points in the world at the moment as well, and how that relates back to CIG, the purchasing pathway, the actual money injections into the project, etc. moving forward. Yeah, this episode is showing after Brian, it's Brian and Tyler doing exactly the same thing and skipping around and trying not to literally answer any form of any question, even asked by Jared, in any of this all the way through. The rest the same thing as the other devs too, until that last one you've already seen. Guys, $60,000 a week. Stop subscribing for your own sake, because you are wasting your money for real. Secondly, I don't see things getting better for the rest of this year. I do believe the rest of this year is going to be this and more of this and this moving forward. That's it, this. And yeah, you'll get this whole Citizencon thing, and they're going to release the Tavarian fighter, maybe a Tavarian cargo ship. They're going to bring out the merchantman finally. Then you're going to hear about SQ42 early first episode release next first quarter of next year, 2021. That's going to be pretty much Citizencon this year, unless something really awesome pops up in development this year. I doubt it though. ILW, what do you reckon?
Well, honestly, man, you've covered everything. I don't even have anything to add to this. I'm really frustrated. We've had some pretty good stuff on here in the past few weeks, in the past few months, and except for the bobbleheads. This is the second low after that. For the weeks, but we're gonna come back from it. Hopefully, we'll get some other good stuff, and because we want to do it like this, because YouTubers, they just read off this. They play gameplay and read off the script of what's in the leaks and what's in the thing, and I think it's helpful to actually see what CIG's saying and hear it from their own mouth.
Yeah, and that's why we say in our intro when the truth matters, because this is the truth of what's actually happening at CIG, the business, not what is going to come up and get taken out of another roadmap. Sorry, Board Gamer, I know you rely on that for your content, and it's nothing personal against you, mate. It's just that's your style, but we're more of the just the business side of it, the facts. And sadly, the facts CIG are showing you themselves. We don't really need to say much, hence why this episode has been so short. Anyway, guys, let's go back to do a final wrap-up. Alrighty, so, mate, I'll let you go first, because I've really got much to say at all. So, I really enjoyed the mining consumables. I thought that was great. I said everything I needed to say on that. For Squadron 42, a lot of hard questions have been asked, and it would have been just great if they would have answered the hard questions instead of avoiding them. Just answer the questions, man. I mean, Jesus Christ, saying, "Oh, hey, why wasn't the roadmap updated?" Just say, "Hey, we were in a lawsuit. Now the lawsuit's settled. Now it's settled." Just whatever. If that's not the truth, whatever the truth is, just say whatever the truth is. Don't go saying all this nonsense of we can't update it, and if we did update it, it would all be 100% complete, and everything would be complete at once. That's not how the roadmap works. That's not how your friggin' persistent universe roadmap works on the template that you got set up there. You already have a template. You could have updated it. So don't come out here with this nonsense, because we know what the truth is. None of us are stupid out here. And stop talking to us like we are. Just tell us what the truth is. Yep. See, guys, if you remember Board Gamer's video, the comment section I mentioned in a couple of videos back where, Jared is treating everyone like 11-year-olds, that's people in the community saying that wasn't us. And as I said, go check out the video. I gave you references to the video and everything like that. Star Citizen is in that holding loop. Star Citizen is in a black hole. Star Citizen is not going anywhere as we speak. Squadron 42 should come out this year. It should come out next month, technically, but it's not going to, because they want to obviously hold it back and wait for Citizencon, because it's going to probably be the only major thing to talk about at Citizencon. Next to a couple of the ships, yeah.
All right, I just wanted to find his terms. When he says Star Citizen is a black hole, it's comparatively to the completion of the whole project of what's promised. He's not like, oh, it's a Star Citizen is in a black hole and nothing's coming out and nothing's ever going to come out and this is it. We all know 3.9 is coming out. 3.9 is going to have a good stuff, but 3.9, you can't even see the finish line with 3.9. The finish line is 100 systems, and there's not even one yet. So when he says black hole, that's what he means. That okay, yeah, what's being created over here, what's a cupcake is being really created over here, and the cupcake's really great. Oh, look how great this cupcake is. Oh, but wait a minute, we have 100 cupcakes to create. Oh, crap. That's the black hole.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a black hole we can't escape, but we are circling it, and we're getting closer to the epicenter of that black hole. Now, we have thrusters, which is called development completion rates, which are obviously going to easily push us out and away from that impending hole of nothing. But are they making the thrusters? Well, they weren't in the last few episodes when we're talking about mini thrusters compared to big. Big is better. They need to obviously do a rework on our ship before it goes and gets sucked in, and get those bigger thrusters on the back to push the project way forward a lot quicker and get us into some safe space towards beta, or into beta immediately, because guys, all of you are complaining every week. Fantastic. Don't stop. I keep saying it. Spectrum, nail it. Smash it every day you can with complaints. Force their hand. Get us into beta as soon as for America, as soon as possible, and don't put up with $60,000 worth of this. Yeah, of this talking garbage, not answering questions, and wasting your money, your time, and not providing a simple Gantt chart. Why? The roadmap is a micro version, it's a project management version of your Gantt chart experience, which is a step down. Obviously, it's been brought down to a team level instead of a leadership level. A Gantt chart shows you leadership level, and they, for some reason, have never wanted us to show what the actual leaders are driving the teams towards. Why? I think it's time for escalation. I think it's time for that transparency that we're all asking for, to see actually how far of the project is actually completed percentile-wise. I think it's time for that to happen. I think it's time to jump from the project management side into the Gantt chart leadership completion side, and drop all of these point this, point that, point this, and point that stuff. Just go 4.0, 4.5, 5.0, and show us the Gantt chart of rates of completion for the teams. That is much simpler, clearer, and more straightforward for all of us, even the business people out there like myself, to understand what progress is being completed and what other blockers holding it back. Tell us the truth. Calling All Devs episode, what are the blockers? Right, that's what we need to talk about. Calling All Devs, the dropship thing. Talk about a specific ship in development, or what it's going to be able to do, or whatever that focus is as well in a second episode, like we've had to pull from today, which is 2 separate episodes, and stick them back together from the one episode which was meant to be in the first place. But they got caught up with devs going crap. I'm done. I'm finished with this episode, mate. What about you?
Yeah, I'm done as well.
Sorry, guys. Hopefully next week we've got something better for you. Another 3.0 experience. But this week, this is all we had. And this is all we could get our hands on that was anything to do with what's happened last week in Star Citizen itself. So take it how you would take it. Give us your feedback. Tell us if you're frustrated. Tell us if you're putting these complaints into Spectrum every week still. We need, obviously, a tsunami of complaints go in now, because this is the holding pattern we are stuck in. We need to break that cycle, and the community are the only people who are going to be able to achieve that for the entire game development at this stage.
Well, I want to think that worked for the bobblehead episode. Just saying. Go ahead.
Yep. So, anyway, I'm CTT, you know me.
I'm Memphis Lead the Way.
And as per usual and as per always, peace out. Cheers.